So road test coming up for you a little later in this video, but a couple of things I want to show you first.
The Ontario-built 2023 Honda CR-V Hybrid is a significant generational leap for Honda's popular crossover. The completely redesigned 6th generation model is bigger, stronger, and more finely tuned, and with its optional hybrid engine, it offers the latest in Honda's electrified tech. The 2023 Volkswagen Tiguan Comfortline R-Line, built in Puebla, Mexico, is a recently refreshed version of the German automaker's CR-V Fighter. The second-generation Tiguan hit the road for model year 2018 and was refreshed for 2022 inside and out. So with the all-new CR-V boasting Honda's latest interior design and the Tiguan fighting back with a major overhaul of its cabin and styling, these two vehicles are locked in a fierce battle to offer up the most up-to-date and stylish interiors in the segment. In this video, I'll be comparing and analyzing these machines side by side to help you decide which one best meets your needs if you're cross-shopping between the pair, which is fairly likely. These comments are based on my impressions of two recent testers. The first of these was a $51,020 Canadian Honda CR-V Touring Hybrid, that's with 204 horsepower, 247 pounds of torque, and an annual fuel bill of about $2,400, assuming that you drive 25,000 kilometers a year and pay $1.50 for a liter of gas. The other tester was a $43,675 Volkswagen Tiguan Comfortline R-Line Black with 184 horsepower, 221 pounds of torque, and an annual fuel bill of $3,675 using those same calculations. The CR-V's hybrid engine gives it a power and smoothness advantage versus the Tiguan and uses $1,275 less fuel annually. Still, it does cost $7,345 more than the Tiguan, so relative to this specific comparison, it's about 6 years of driving before the hybrid engine in the CR-V covers its added cost with fuel savings versus the Tiguan. It's hard to say for sure which interior makes the better first impression in this comparison. In the Tiguan, my tester's light-colored leather interior worked with its infotainment display screen fully enclosed within the forward dash to help visually open the cabin and let in plenty of light and scenery. From a glance, the Tiguan's material and color selection are richer and more vibrant, conveying more depth and energy to your eyes from a quick peek. Conversely, the CR-V's cabin looks darker, more formal, and more personal. There are fewer high-value elements engaging the eyes initially, meaning the Tiguan looks more upscale and luxurious from a mere glance. The feel of most of the Tiguan's smaller controls is smoother and more precise, furthering the effect. The slim dash and horizontal line work carrying through the forward scenery and seat stitching suggest a wider, lower, and sportier approach in the CR-V, punched up by the racier-looking steering wheel of the pair, and subtle but effective use of round accents in the forward dash for some of the smaller controls. So to me, the Tiguan's first impression is one of an inviting, upscale, high-tech lounge that's full of gloss and light and open space. Smoothness abounds with glossy, touch-activated surfaces favored over tactile buttons and knobs. This extends right down to the steering wheel, whose smooth controls look great, but can be frustrating to use at times.
So a little more context and detail for you on the steering wheel mounted controls here. Here's a closer look. You can see here we've got a gloss black plastic piece of trim that's got a little bit of a texture to it. Nice clean backlighting on there. So if we zoom out and take this interior as a whole, right, we've got this digital display screen here for your instrument cluster, another nice display screen there for your navigation system and infotainment. And with that backlighting and that smooth glossy finish, these steering wheel mounted controls really tie in and give you a high-end flair. Trouble is actually using them at times can be a little bit fiddly. Here's what I mean. So this is all one button here, and although we've got the texture to kind of guide us around and give us a feel of where we are, while you're doing that, some of these functions don't actually require you to press in. So as you're feeling your way around trying to figure out what button to press, you're actually manipulating stuff up here on the screen. Same thing on this side with the cruise control and so on, right? I can click the volume button this way to turn the stereo up, or I can also just gently slide my finger left to right or right to left to turn that up and down. The trouble is with just that single flat surface, you've got to use your finger to sort of feel your way around. So all of that to say, this looks fantastic, but it is a little more complicated to use than it needs to be.
The CR-V's first impression is a cabin that looks more muted and conventional, but feels more athletic and focused. Enthusiast drivers will appreciate how the sporting ambiance reflects the powertrain beneath. Still, even in this fully loaded setup, my tester did have a few button blanks, cheapening the interior. So I think most shoppers will find the Tiguan's cabin to be the most impressive of the pair, especially given its significant price advantage. Still, the CR-V's interior controls will prove much easier to use for drivers wearing their winter gloves. The tactile knobs and switches and buttons in the CR-V are much less fiddly. By the way, the Tiguan's touch-sensitive climate control and steering wheel controls will work with gloves on, but they feel much less precise in action. It's hard to say which interior makes the better first impression. The Tiguan's light-colored interior and infotainment screen embedded within the dash visually open the cabin and let in plenty of light and scenery. The CR-V's cabin looks darker, more formal, and more personal. The slim dash and horizontal line work suggest a wider, lower, and sportier approach in the CR-V. The Tiguan's first impression is one of an inviting, upscale, and high-tech lounge that's full of gloss and light and open space. The CR-V's first impression is a cabin that looks more muted and conventional but feels more athletic and focused. All said, most shoppers will find the Tiguan's interior, especially considering its major price advantage versus the CR-V hybrid in this comparison. By the way, neither vehicle's infotainment screen responded to my touch while wearing non-touchscreen compatible gloves.
Whether you're using the on-screen buttons here or these touch-sensitive sort of hard buttons on the side, no luck with the gloves. Let's try the climate control system out here. Idea with this is if we want to turn the temperature up, we just swipe this way. And that seems to be working, and to turn it down, we just swipe this way here. That climate control console is much more sensitive to your bare finger, but it does still work with your gloves on here. Let's try these buttons up on top. Yeah, so no problem with the heated seats or any of these controls up here. So if you've got your gloves on, that is a no to the infotainment system and a yes to the climate control system down there.
The CR-V Touring Hybrid has a 7-inch digital display in its instrument cluster. Alongside an analog speedometer, there's a 9-inch touchscreen display on top of the dashboard. The Tiguan Comfortline R-Line Black has an 8-inch touchscreen display and a fully digital instrument cluster with LED indicators for fuel level and engine temperature. Of the pair, test-driving shoppers will likely find the Tiguan to deliver the higher-performing infotainment and display experience. Its graphics look sharper and more modern, the instrument cluster animations seem smoother and more crisp, and the infotainment touchscreen has proximity sensors on it that only light up additional on-screen functions in response to an approaching finger, and that means a less cluttered display more of the time. The Tiguan's instrument cluster is more widely customizable and fun to explore too. But if you're a neat freak, take note, the CR-V's cabin is also easier to keep tidy, with fewer glossier surfaces in vulnerable areas to catch dust and smudges and scratches. When comparing the dimensions of the Honda CR-V and Volkswagen Tiguan, there are several differences to note. The Tiguan offers slightly more front and rear headroom, providing additional comfort for taller passengers, but the CR-V boasts more front and rear legroom. The biggest difference between these two machines is in rear seat legroom, with the CR-V offering a roughly 11% advantage over the Tiguan in this measurement. Still, the Tiguan does offer up about 34% more overall interior volume than the CR-V, despite the Honda offering up both more maximum and seats up cargo volume. Of this pair, I preferred the Tiguan for entry and exit to the rear seat. At 5'10", I was able to board and exit with no more than a lateral butt slide, no ducking or bending required. Though measurements vary by model, neither machine should pose any issue comfortably transporting 4 full-sized adults and their gear with space to spare. By the way, in terms of exterior dimensions, the Tiguan is slightly longer and taller, while the CR-V is wider. The Tiguan also has a longer wheelbase, which can translate to a smoother ride and more stable handling. The ground clearance of the CR-V is slightly higher than that of the Tiguan, which could be an advantage for those who frequently drive on rough or uneven terrain or trails. The Tiguan's handling, polish, calibration, and response make it easy to place the vehicle precisely within the long sweeping corners characteristic of northern highways. The suspension is calibrated to provide a good feel of the road and keeps the body flat and stable. This results in reduced workload at the steering wheel, flatter and more stable handling, improved handling feel, reduced driver fatigue, and improved confidence. This Comfortline R-Line Black trim grade is ideal for shoppers after a more athletic experience from their Tiguan. It comes with a power panoramic sunroof and ambient lighting package, generating further appeal. The 2023 Honda CR-V Touring Hybrid is one of the best driving crossovers in its segment, with excellent dynamics and feel. The new twin-motor hybrid engine is arguably the segment's best, providing very strong and direct throttle response, boosted by electric torque. Its eCVT transmission convincingly simulates the stepped kick-down and upshifting of a fast-shifting automatic. The ride and handling are polished with minimal suspension and tire noise and composed body motions. Steering feels precise, reducing the need for readjustment, and brake pedal feel and precision is above average too. These attributes combine to give the CR-V Hybrid a refreshingly responsive and eager feel at the tips of its driver's fingers and toes. If you find yourself cross-shopping these machines, let me leave you with a final thought. The driving dynamics and feel of the CR-V are excellent, thanks in no small part to the hybrid drivetrain. In the snow, the all-wheel drive system is highly responsive and reliable. It rarely digs or struggles, and it feels on the ball. The engine is smooth and punchy, especially at very low revs. And it's one of the only hybrid SUVs on the road today, with a sport mode you'll actually want to use regularly, since the engine feels and sounds eager and pleasing when it's worked hard. On the other hand, the Tiguan's driveline was a source of occasional frustration on my test drive, specifically because of some difficulty getting it to operate smoothly in a variety of different, typically low-speed situations. Here, the Tiguan can sometimes respond vaguely or too abruptly, and throttle response at lower speeds can be inconsistent at best. But these are the same situations where the Honda CR-V's hybrid engine proves its worth, delivering much smoother and more immediate response to throttle inputs from even lower revs than the Tiguan. So while perhaps furthest apart on their powertrains, these two machines are both easily amongst my list of favorite compact SUVs for use on the field cutoff. That's a winding stretch of highway in my Northern Ontario locale, where the tuning of a vehicle's suspension, steering, and chassis really come into play. This stretch of narrow winding two-lane connects Highway 17 from Verner at the south to Highway 11 near Temagami on the north side. It's a favorite of mine thanks to its beautiful landscape, sparse signage, limited infrastructure, and smooth and twisty tarmac. This road quickly separates the good from the excellent when it comes to handling, steering, and the dynamics of a new crossover. A vehicle that responds precisely and mitigates driver workload is ideal for a rewarding drive on roads like this, and both the CR-V and Tiguan deliver strongly here.